guys. Thank you so much for coming. This is our first pre-con seminar that we're hosting, so thank you for being a part of that and coming out on this gorgeous Saturday. So, really quick, today we're going to be talking about all things pre-con, and you're going to be led through the whole presentation by Tyler McClay. He is my brother, but he's also our team lead of our magnificent team of now 12, which is always growing, our amazing team. He is the president, and he is also a third-generation realtor. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to click through so we have all of them up. There we go. Okay, third-generation realtor with over 10 years of experience in the space, in the industry, both resale and pre-con. He did his undergrad at the University of Guelph-Humber with a major in finance before moving on and getting his master's of real estate and infrastructure at the University of Schulich. And then he's also, in the last few years, very amazing, successful career thus far. He's been honored in the top 35 under 35 in Canada in the last 3 consecutive years. And now he is also, as if he's not busy enough, he always can't sit still, he's also a university professor at the University of Guelph on top of it all. So without further ado, Tyler's going to come and talk to you guys about all things pre-con.
Cool. Thanks, Sue. Hey guys, thanks so much for coming. It's great to have everybody here. If you can't see, feel free to come a little bit closer. I won't stand in front of myself here. We're going to talk very high level, what's going on in the market today. Okay, very high level. Talk a little bit about Toronto, talk about pre-con specifically, how it works, how to get into it, and then I'm going to pass it off to Alan. Alan's with Greywood, working on this project specifically, just so you can apply some of what I talk about to something relevant, something specific, and hopefully bring it all together. Fair enough? Okay, very informal, very cool, very casual. If you guys have any questions throughout, just stop me, raise your hand. If something doesn't make sense, stop me. You've got a lot of my guys in here today. If you have any questions afterward, grab us, find us, ask us. We're very cool. We've got brunch coming after the presentation because I got to make sure you guys all stick around. So please feel free to stick around, mix, mingle, talk. We've got some interactive screens over here to see this project specifically, what floor plans look like, what a pre-con project kind of looks like, feels like, and this is what the space looks like. So this is a pre-con presentation gallery, whether it's this project or anything else. Sometimes they are on site, such as Centricity. Okay, so this building that you see there, that scale model, is coming right here to this site. So you can get a good feel for the area in the pocket. That's not always the case, but it's cool to see where projects are coming. Okay, so first things first, today's conditions. It's about 17 degrees outside, feels nice and warm. Okay, but the conditions of the real estate market specifically, things are getting better, things are starting to normalize, okay? So basically, what I would say is it's cloudy with a chance of optimism. And why I say that is we're still coming out of this COVID thing, okay? There's still a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of question marks, there's conflicting headlines in the media, and it's hard to really get a grasp on what's happening. But the optimism, you'll see throughout the presentation, is there from a number of relevant factors and market indicators, okay? So how did we get here in the first place? How did we get here? How did we end up here under these current state of the market? Okay, so basically we have this wicked thing called COVID, this pandemic, and it wasn't necessarily a financial crisis, okay, but it's evolved and transformed into some financial, monetary policy points that need to be discussed, okay, and it's definitely affecting our market, affecting the economy. Basically what happened is to sustain the economy throughout COVID, the government had to print a lot of money, a lot of handouts, a lot of bursaries, a lot of help. And in doing that, in printing money, inflation goes a little bit nuts. And this was arguably a purposeful event to let inflation run rampant, because when the government has a lot of debt, they've got 3 options in terms of what they can do. Okay, number 1 is they can increase their output, which we could not do. We were handcuffed with COVID and the closure of borders. Number 2, we can decrease interest rates, which we did, but ultimately bottomed out. We couldn't go much lower than we got, okay? So the last option was to ramp up inflation to devalue that debt, okay? So what is inflation? Can anybody tell me what inflation is in 1 sentence, short form? No problem, I'll tell you. So my grandfather back in the day, if he had a nickel in his pocket, he could go to the store and buy a pack of gum, a pop, and a candy bar. Our 5 cents now is sitting at the bottom of our cup holder in our car. Okay, it's not really worth as much as it used to be. So same idea. Our money isn't worth as much as it used to be. So when inflation is high, it devalues our cash quicker. So that's how we got to where we are. It's just nice to have a visual as we go, okay? So basically, stick a fork in it, it's done. What I mean by that is this crazy, topsy-turvy turmoil we've been seeing, we're starting to normalize. So things are getting back to predictable outcomes. We can pay attention to certain economic indicators to paint a predictable picture. Okay, a lot of that uncertainty, that volatility, it's done with. And when we can make predictable, educated decisions, we can make money more confidently. Okay, is it working? Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys. So, get into the good stuff. Some of the key metrics to watch. Okay, this is the current state, and we'll talk about what we think is coming. So the elephant in the room, inflation, one of my favorite words. My team hears me say it probably 30 times a day. Just because it's not as prevalent as it was, doesn't mean it's gone away. Okay, we stop talking about certain things in the media, hot topic all of a sudden, and then we're on to the next thing, like what Kim Kardashian's wearing to the Met Gala. But what's more important is inflation. It doesn't go away. Okay, so inflation numbers are coming down, which is a good thing. But it's going to be around for a while. So there's ways to mitigate inflation. So you can't see because of the brightness really on the screen, but there's a target line here, this gray shaded area. Our target inflation is around 2.5 to 3%. That's where we want to be. Okay, and because of the printing of money, you can see here throughout COVID, inflation ran rampant as we came out of the pandemic. Okay, that's because access to capital was increased. When there's more money out there in the economy, when there's more access to capital, cheaper access to money, more money means devalues the currency. Fair enough? Okay, and now what we're seeing is we're starting to get a handle on it. If you can see this ending bit here, okay, this is the most relevant. So inflation's coming down in a response to rising interest rates. So the only tool that we have to mitigate inflation is to increase the interest rates and reduce that access to capital. So make money harder to borrow and more expensive to borrow. As we decrease the money in the economy, we decrease economic activity, and it brings inflation back to a manageable number. Okay, so we're working on it. It's coming. Everything that the Bank of Canada is doing is working. Okay, and there's a lot of I guess, evolution that goes into the Bank of Canada's decision making and how this all works. Just like the car you drive is a lot more technologically advanced than the car you drove 5 years ago. The phone in your hand is a lot different than the phone you had 5 years ago. Same thing with technology and life and cars and the things that we buy. Monetary policy is evolving. Okay, so we've got a good handle on things. Outlook's pretty positive. Relatively, though, interest rates are okay. Now, in terms of supply, this is another key factor that we want to keep an eye on. We talked about inflation, we talked about interest rates. Supply is a more tangible, fun thing to talk about, less boring, less numbers, okay? The red line is the population growth, the historic population growth. And you can clearly see, I like graphs because they tell a good story, you can clearly see that that's outpacing the housing growth in Ontario. So clearly something's not adding up. Everybody needs a roof over their head, everybody needs somewhere to live, and if we're not building enough homes, what happens to those homes? The price, what do you think, is going to go up or down? Based on this. Everybody now. Ah, pretty good, right? Pretty good. Wow, you guys are learning fast. Don't have enough hoodies for everybody, sorry. So basically, our population since 1970 has increased 68%. Okay, and this is in Ontario. And building of new homes has decreased by 23%. So there's just a very obvious unalignment there, and we're not talking about it enough as we should be. There's a lot of back and forth in the media, a lot of back and forth, a lot of clickbait. We like to, hi Jordan, thanks for coming. We like to pick up on one thing or two things, certain headlines, and dive into one or two metrics. It's important to consider everything, okay? And this is a big one. It's a lot of elephants in the room, if you will. Immigration being one of them, and the lack of supply being another. So here's some of the immigration targets that we have, okay? We're looking to bring in approximately 1.5 million newcomers to Canada over the next 3 years. Like, that's just insane. And we're just simply not building enough for them, okay? So cost to build has increased. There's a lot of pressure on builders and building. There's not enough available land, okay? We're running out of land with the Lake Ontario and the Greenbelt, so there's only so much attractive land left. It takes a lot more to develop. There's more volatility, especially over the last 3 years, in labor costs, hard costs, steel and lumber, right? Remember all the memes and all the jokes about how expensive wood was, right, throughout COVID. So there's a lot of volatility there. We're just simply not building enough homes. In terms of employment, record low employment. Of course, COVID, a lot of people lost jobs. A lot of those job losses were in the service sector, okay, service staff. And strictly speaking, factually, these are renters, not homeowners, okay? Service staff, hospitality staff, that kind of industry. Those are the ones that were losing their jobs. But the bankers, the lawyers, the doctors, they were still working from home with nowhere to spend their money. So household savings increased substantially. And we're at record low employment now. So the outlook, let's talk about what's to come. Using all these metrics, using all these factors, we can really get a grip and make educated predictions on what's to come. Okay, so a difference between a guess and an educated prediction. Obviously, you're playing roulette at the casino, that's just a guess. You've got a 1 in 38 chance. You spin a ball, good luck. Okay, an educated prediction is fact-based. Okay, so it's like betting on the Leafs. Probably don't, right? Based on our track record, maybe don't. That's an educated prediction. Okay, and using these metrics, using these examples that I'm talking about, we can have a pretty good idea and pretty confidently decide where we're headed. Now let's talk about Toronto really quickly, the uniqueness and attractiveness of our great city. You're all here, we all live Toronto-ish, right, nearby if you're here today, I'd imagine. So some of the major points about Toronto, I mean stable political and economic climate. Big one for investment. Okay, we want to know that our money is safe. That's why we attracted a lot of foreign investment when it was allowed. Okay? Limited land availability, I already talked about Lake Ontario and the Greenbelt. World-class post-secondary institutions, incredible, which in turn is attracting phenomenal employment opportunities. So there's phenomenal headquarters coming. Amazon, Netflix, Google, you name it, they're coming to Toronto. They want to be in Toronto. Why? 2 reasons. Our dollar, Canadian dollar, costs them way less to employ people here. And 2, the quality of our working class population. Quality of our workforce. Infrastructure investment, growth in transit. We've got the Ontario line coming, which is going to be fantastic. There's a lot of money that's committed to increasing and making our transit better as we move forward. Low residential leasing vacancy, and we can demand higher rents. Okay, as affordability gets further and further away, it increases the rental pool, the amount of people that want to rent. So for you investors, it's incredible. You're going to have more tenants competing for your space. Okay, as affordability gets further away. You look at markets like London, England, you look at markets like New York, Singapore. These are not buyer markets, these are renter markets. I've got friends that work on Wall Street and they wouldn't dream of buying a place in New York. They rent, it's just what it is. And we're a younger city, but we're well on our way there. Okay, so pre-construction gives you an opportunity to jump into the market with less hurdles. I'll talk about it. And then lengthy timelines in adding supply. So for example, when Greywood bought this site specifically, gas station, from the time it's a gas station to the time that one of you is walking in with your key, walking into your unit to see your brand new space, the average time that takes in Toronto is 7 to 8 years. So it's very linear. The way that we add supply, it's very linear. It's not like we have a steady stream of units coming to market. When a project's done, we add 350 units just like that, all at once. Okay? That's a linear, I would say curve, but it's not a curve, it's a straight line. But that being said, it takes time to add supply and of course maintains the resiliency and protects our money as investors. Okay, that's what we want as investors. We want more hurdles. We don't want to add a bunch of supply all at once because it retains and protects our investment. Fair enough? Any questions? All right. So just some fun stats on Toronto, okay? I told you almost doubling population by 2041. Year over year increase in rental rate downtown Toronto is 23%. That's insane. And anything built post-October 2018 or anything taking occupancy post-October 2018 is not subject to rent control. So anything you're buying now, anything pre-con now, your tenant moves out or even stays, you can increase the rent to market values as we go. So another check for investors. Okay? 37% of all jobs are based in downtown Toronto, core Toronto. This is where you want to be. We're in a very city-centric environment here, so everything outside of Toronto is a result of Toronto's growth, if that makes sense. I have people tell me about different markets here, this, that, and the other, going off a little bit here, but everything's a result of downtown Toronto. Why is Oshawa the way it is? Because of Toronto. It's a spillover effect. Everything starts and stems from downtown Toronto. 46% of active cranes in all of North America are in Toronto. So almost half of the cranes in all of North America, just take that in for a second, are here in Toronto. Not Ontario, not Canada, Toronto. That's insane. And we still can't build fast enough. So the supply is coming, but it takes a while to add that supply, and we're still not keeping up with demand. So Ty, if we build more, doesn't that mean that there's going to be too much to go around, too many houses, values are going to go down? No way. Immigration's just accumulating way too quickly. Okay? So we have to build, but we just can't do it fast enough. 8.3% is the average year-over-year increase in asset value, and then 37%. Toronto vacancy, 4.7% is one of the lowest downtown office vacancies. Sorry, ignore that number. That's from the last slide. But 4.7%, one of the lowest office vacancy rates in all of North America. even now coming out of COVID. There's a lot of talk. If you Google office vacancy, you'll see a lot of articles. When are people coming back? When are we going back to work? The consensus is work from home doesn't work. We're going back to the office. Okay? So, pre-con. That just paints a picture for you, frames our market. Now let's talk about pre-con. That's why you're here. Okay? So the pre-con industry, it's adding supply to market. So this site that we're standing on right now, converting it from what it was into this spectacular specimen of a building behind us. And that's what pre-construction is that start to finish process. And you as investors, as buyers, you're buying in, as the name suggests, pre-construction, before they start digging the hole. Okay? So let's talk about it. The pre-construction purchasing process. There's a few steps that go into the pre-construction purchasing process. Number one, choosing a project and a plan. This is your first step. How do we do that? By talking to friends, relatives, really good realtors, and coming up with a reason why you want to buy where you want to buy. We can help you navigate projects. We can help you choose which projects make sense, why you want to be in those projects. We can ask questions, figure it out, get it out of you where you want to be and why. Okay? And a lot goes into choosing where you want to be. I'll talk about that. Number two is submitting a worksheet. Okay? So as you can imagine, I mean, look at the building. There's a lot of units in there. You submit a worksheet with your preferences. So it's very hard to say, I want unit 1402. In a lot of cases, we can do that. We can get unit 1402 for you. But usually you submit a worksheet with some parameters of what you want. Ty, you know what I want? I want a 2-bedroom, north-facing, ballpark 800 square feet with a parking spot. Great. How high do you want to be in the building? Yeah, middle of the building. Great. So we put that on a worksheet, we submit that to the builder, and then they provide us with our suite allocations. So, okay, Ty, you said middle of the building, we've got suite 17 and suite 14. Here's the prices of each, what do you want? They allocate those suites to us, we present it to you, you decide on which one you want. It's a good idea to stay somewhat open when buying pre-construction, okay? Keeping an open mind in terms of, you know, you can decide which orientation you want, north, south, east, west, height of the floor, 2-bedroom versus 1-bedroom, but keep an open mind, especially when things get hot and there's new releases and VIP releases that our team has access to, things get a little bit crazy. So if you say you want the 15th floor and you get the 16th floor, that's okay, still a great investment. Okay? Signing the agreement. Once you get allocated your suite, you are signing for unit 1402. Now don't be concerned, I get the question all the time, Ty, can I get it reviewed first? In Ontario, legally, any strata, any condo, okay, freehold is a different story, but you have a 10-day rescission period, cooling off period. That's the time where you take it to your lawyer. You have them review the contract, see if there's anything weird in there that they don't like, see if your development charges are capped. Okay, there's a few things that our team will help you out with, and we can refer you to lawyers that are experienced in this space. Okay? And you just want to make sure there's nothing fishy. You have 10 days to do exactly that, to cool off. Maybe you jumped the gun. Maybe you found a project you like better. Maybe you decided you wanted to go resale. Maybe your parents are willing to help you out, and your plans and goals have changed. That's okay. You buy your unit, you sign, you have 10 days to walk away. If you choose to walk away, it's a simple email. We're not going to follow through. No harm done. No deposits are taken, no nothing. All it costs is a little bit of your time, a little bit of my time. No problem. We keep hunting. Okay? If we decide to proceed, within that 10-day cooling off period, we get our pre-approval letter. Basically, that's just to help the builder get their financing if they need it, and it shows that they've sold it to someone that can qualify to close this unit. Okay, that's the next step. Then we've got cash in the first check. If you do decide to proceed, great, thumbs up. Within your 10-day cooling period, we're good to go. If you do nothing, it automatically firms up, so you've really got to be on top of your dates. We are for you. Designing your suite, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of customization that goes into pre-construction suites. Like I said, you can pick north, south, east, west. You can pick your floor plan. So there's not just one floor plan for a 2-bedroom. There might be 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. And you pick and choose what you want. You pick and choose your countertops. You pick and choose your colors. You pick and choose the finishes, any upgrades. It's a lot of fun. Then you've got your interim occupancy and PDI. PDI is a pre-delivery inspection. You walk through with the builder representative, make sure everything looks good. And then you've got your final closing, and that's when your mortgage kicks in. So you've got your pre-construction, interim occupancy, and then your final closing. Now, I get a lot of questions about phantom fees, right? Oh, I don't want to pay interim occupancy. I don't want to pay phantom fees. And the media and the market kind of paints that in a negative light. As an investor, if you're moving in, that's one thing. Really doesn't matter. But as an investor, I love interim occupancy. I love it. The longer, the better. And I'll tell you why. When your mortgage kicks in, you're paying 2 parts of your mortgage, your principal and your interest. You've also got your taxes, which you pay in interim occupancy anyway. You've also got your maintenance fee, which you pay in interim occupancy anyway. When it comes to your mortgage, principal and interest, during the interim occupancy phase, you're only paying the interest portion. So the principal isn't locked into your suite in equity. If you're renting out your unit, you're kind of cash flowing, cash flow positive. So it gives you the ability to build a buffer in your bank account before closing. So instead of that money locked up in your suite, locked up in equity, you're cash flowing positively and building a buffer in your bank account. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? It's hard to explain with words sometimes. If it doesn't make sense, we'll help you after. But that's why I like interim occupancy, especially if you're renting your unit. Okay? You're not locking up your equity. Now, these are the important considerations when you're thinking about pre-construction. Okay? If you're thinking about buying pre-construction anytime now, for the next 5 years, 10 years, you never know what happens. But these are the important considerations. Location, location, location. Ha ha ha, classic real estate thing, right? Location is the most important, so it's worth saying 3 times. You can't change location. There's things you can tweak, there's things you can renovate. You can renovate a countertop, you can paint a unit, you can change light fixtures, but what you cannot do is move your unit or move your building. Okay? You also want to look at the developer's reputation, especially now. During COVID, there's been a little bit of negativity surrounding some developers, some mom and pop shops, okay? And they just don't have the funds to close, or they're not making a profit, so they pull the plug. You've got to work with an experienced, reputable developer. And there's a lot of good ones in Toronto. We like to stick with the good ones. This is Greywood. We're here, okay? Top tier, in-house financing, great reputation, great track record. And when you're buying pre-construction, it's also cool to go and tour some buildings that they've already completed. So you can see the quality of their work, the quality of their finishes, get a vibe for what your unit's going to feel like. Okay? Existing neighborhood amenities. So think of this site here. What's already here? Transit 2 seconds away. Yonge and Dundas 2 seconds away. TMU 2 seconds away. So you've already got things here that are going to contribute to the value and more to come. So we're looking at what's already here and what's to come, projected growth. What else is going to be adding value as we go? Access to transit, mobility, how we get around the city. Healthy rental market. It's important to consider if you're an investor. You've got to consider what's going on in the rental market and who's going to be renting your suite. Ty, I found these condos in Waterloo. They're 250 grand. Great, who's renting your suite? Students, in and out. Student rentals are okay, recession-proof, there's some positives. But do you want to be managing students and be hands-on and have a new tenant every year, for example? Or do you want to be downtown Toronto, doctors, nurses, lawyers, students at Ryerson, right? You've got a wicked rental pool here as well. Qualified people, good incomes, good covenants. Suite mix and layout. It's important to consider, are they funky? If the building looks too architecturally wild, sometimes your suites get a little funky. It's not the best use of square footage. I'll tell you from experience, the resale market doesn't like it. They don't like weird corners and unusable space and curves. How can I put my couch on that wall, Ty? It's curved. I don't know, you should have called me. We wouldn't have bought that one. We would have bought something else. Perfect square, okay? So suite mix, suite layout is important, and then floor plan's got to be functional. Incentives, deposit structures, also important to consider. Different developers will have different incentives, different deposit structures. Depending on who you work with, we get access to different opportunities, okay? And then, of course, your exit strategy is important. Oh, I'm never going to sell it. Great. But if you do, and when you do, what's the resale market look like? I had a client call me the other day. Ty, look at these Whitby condos. They look really cool. They look really great. They do. But when I looked at the pricing didn't make sense. It didn't work for that particular market. They were just way too high for the resale market. So we've got to consider that as well. Who's buying, right? When we eventually do sell. Benefits of pre-construction, why I like it, why our team loves it, why a lot of our clients love it. These are my biggest points, okay? Predictability in payments. So you know what you're getting into. There's no fluctuation in interest rates. There's no tenant stopping paying rent and you're out of commission for a little bit. So starting out, first, second investment, or at any point, there's a lot of predictability in your payment structure. It's set out when you first sign your agreement, you're going to need a check for 5% in 30 days. Another check for 5% of the purchase price in 350 days. That date is April 12th, 2024, for example. So you know when it's coming. You know what you have to save for. Okay? Hands-off investing, totally hands-off. No management of tenants. No call from the city saying your grass is too long, your tenant's not cutting the grass. No leaks in the roof. No calls at 3 a.m. saying a pipe burst. None of that. It's very hands-off. You put your money in, you sit back, you relax, you watch it grow. Capital appreciation and leverage. You're appreciating with the market. Okay, so you're getting your hooks in without having to put as much down as resale. gives you an opportunity to save, force savings. Okay? And when I talk about leverage, I talked about that 8.3% appreciation number. That's 8.3 on your purchase price, not on your investment. That's the beautiful thing about real estate, leverage. You're getting a return on your purchase price versus the equity that you put in. You buy $100,000 worth of stocks, 10% return is $10,000. You put $100,000 on a down payment on a pre-construction condo for $1 million, that same 10% is on the $1 million. That's leverage. Fair enough? Lower maintenance and repair, customization. So I already talked about this. This is great. Colors, you make it the way you want it. Upgrades, it's a lot of fun. Choosing your suite, choosing where you want to be, having this whole experience. And I've missed this. My team's missed this. Throughout COVID, you can't come in. We were selling pre-construction just via Zoom and online contracts. Now it's cool to come in, see it, feel it, touch it, see the rendering, walk around where it's going to be, look around and say, you know what, I like that view. So we come in and we look at the east views above the 30th floor, because that tower is about 25 stories. So I'd like to be 30th floor plus. Great. So you get that whole hands-on experience. It's a lot of fun. Lower maintenance and repair because it's brand new. You don't have leaky roofs. You don't have things to fix. You don't find a crack in your foundation 3 weeks after you buy the Barrie townhome, for example. Okay? Latest and greatest innovation. As I said, the example with your cell phone, your car, things are evolving, just like the building industry. Okay? We've got more technology now. Parking garages that read your license plate, open automatically. How cool is that? Fobs instead of keys. Now, all this stuff I just told you, I'm going to pass it over to Alan. Alan is with Greywood, representing the Centricity project here. Okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Centriverse with you. So everything I just told you, apply it now to what you hear from Alan. Good? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. Alan?
Awesome. Thanks. I don't need this. I'm good. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so everything that Tyler said, very rarely do you find an opportunity that checks all those boxes. And that's happening right here on this very site at Centricity. Now, before we get into details of the location, I think you guys are kind of familiar with where we are in the location, but we mentioned this earlier, right out of the gates, is being in the presentation center and seeing where we are. You gotta think about this. If location is the most important thing when you're selling real estate, why don't other developers put their sales office on site if that's what you want to showcase, right? So this is a great opportunity to the fact that we have this presentation gallery right here on site and you can actually see what's happening here. And the importance of seeing it is not just thinking about it, because when you come here, you can actually see all the development happening up and down the church corridor. And there's a reason for that. All the major developers have already invested here. So this is an area poised for absolute growth. You can look across the street, you can see all the cranes, you can see everything happening, and you want that. You don't want to be a standalone building in the neighborhood because what's going to drive that growth? But look outside. We talked about the cranes earlier, having more than, about half of all the cranes in North America are right here in Toronto. A guy from San Francisco, an agent from San Francisco dropped in the other day, and he was saying there's about 15 cranes in all of San Francisco. I think we have more than 15 just in the church corridor alone. So you can see that this is really an area absolutely poised for immense growth. Now, I guess a bit about the area. Having something that checks all the boxes. It's the location, right where we are, right in the center of downtown Toronto. But what's equally important as location right now in this market is the developer. A lot of people don't think about that. Ty mentioned that earlier. It's, you know, in the last couple of years during COVID, a lot of new developers came out of the woodwork, started making projects, started doing different things, but you know, they have no track record. There's no history. You don't know what they've done. If you want to see something they've built 5, 10 years ago, you can't because they haven't done anything. But with us at Greywood Developments, we've actually been in development for nearly 40 years. We've delivered more than 31,000 units. So not only do we have a long proven history and track record of delivering exceptional developments, we're also one of the most active developers in the GTA. When you're investing in pre-construction, it's probably one of the biggest purchases in your life. So you want to know where your money is going. And with Greywood Developments, you know that money is secure. We're a private investment management company. We're based in Canada. Our head office is just at King and University. We're not relying on overseas funding that could be turned off at any moment. We're a fully Canadian company right here in Toronto. We're a Bay Street developer. Now, a bit about the location. As you guys know, we're in the center of downtown Toronto. If you go on Google Maps, look up downtown Toronto, you can land you right at Yonge and Dundas Square, which is a 2-minute walk from us right here. So that makes us right in the center of the city. We're in the middle of the best healthcare, the best education, and the best jobs. Everything you need is within a 10, 15-minute walk. We're basically right on campus at Ryerson or TMU. There's over 46,000 students right outside your doorstep with only 1,700 on-campus beds. That means campus housing is serving less than 4% of the student population. There's a severe shortage in student housing, so as an investor, this is a great opportunity for you to get access to that student tenant. And as well, you know, within 10 minutes, you can be in the financial district, you can be the hospital network, you can be down at Union Station. So again, you got professionals, you got young professionals, you got students, you got medical professionals, again, all at your doorstep. We're at 2 minutes to the Eaton Center, which means you're connected to the path. You can get anywhere downtown. Doesn't get more centrally located than this. What else do we want to talk about? Being in downtown Toronto, always known as the blue chip investment in pre-construction, right? There's a reason for that. If you can see what's happening outside the city, we talked about Guelph, we talked about Barrie, we talked about, you know, cities outside of Toronto, not even the 905, even we talk about the outer 416. If we look at Etobicoke, Scarborough, North York, all pre-construction projects based on one thing. They base their sales pitch on one thing, and that's transit connectivity and how many minutes it takes to get downtown. Well, we're right in the heart of downtown. That makes us the blue chip investment. We're the benchmark against every other development out there. A bit about the building itself. So right here on this site, we're going to do 53 stories, total of 594 units. We're going to have over 20,000 square feet of indoor and outdoor amenities, fully outfitted gym, co-working space, yoga studio, spin studio. We're going to have a really amazing podcast room as well for the demographic that's going to be living here. They're going to be using that media room. They're going to be using that podcast studio. We also have a little dog run. You can see it on the scale model on the north side of the building. So for the pet owners, we have a little dog relief area as well as a pet spa. So really amazing. Everything you need is here. And being in the center of downtown Toronto, you don't need a car. So we're going to make this the most bike-friendly building in the city. We have nearly 600 bike parking spots with a separate lobby and a dedicated elevator for your bikes, a bike service and repair station as well. So anybody who's wanting to get around downtown quickly, it's going to be by bike. Nobody's driving. You're going to be stuck in traffic all day. Our floor plans, another thing that Tyler mentioned is, you know, you want to have good floor plans. And the team can take you through on our touchscreens later. We have our key plates there, all the different floor plans we have available. We have the most efficient floor plans that you're ever going to see. You can see the tower itself. It's basically a perfect rectangle, right? So we have no wasted space. There's no corners. There's no weird curves. There's no angles. You don't have long bowling alley entrances where you walk in and you have to, you know, turn 3 or 4 times before you get into the main living area. Perfect squares. You're going to see those floor plans. You can take a look at them. We're going to give you some handouts as well, so you can take a look at those. What else are we talking about here? Yeah, having windows. Windows are very important. A lot of times, buildings these days are designed with a second bedroom tucked somewhere inside and a little sliding door, no access to natural light. But all of our bedrooms in the tower will have windows, so you have access to natural light. We're going to have balconies on the north and the south side of the building, and Juliet balconies on the east and the west. Also, we're blessed with having, you know, this is a location where you're not selling the views because we're not on the lake, but we're lucky in the sense that we have 3 roads surrounding us. We have Church, we have Dundas, and Dalhousie behind us, which means there's not going to be a building that's going to be put up immediately beside you. So you're going to get some distance between the building beside you, so you're going to get lots of natural light. You're going to have some great views. And when you're looking north, that's the TMU campus. There are no plans to build any tall buildings. You're going to have nice sweeping views of the city looking north. If you're looking west, you're going to have great views of the Eaton Center and Yonge Dundas Square as well. Another point we talked about is working with a pre-construction agent, a team like the Tyler McClay team, because you're going to have access to special incentives, which I'll tell you about right now. For our our studios, all the way up to our 1+ den units, we're going to give you guys a $10,000 discount. For 2 bedrooms and larger, you guys are getting a $20,000 discount. And for today being here, I'm going to give you an additional $5,000 at closing for a studio, all the way up to 1 bedroom. And from 1 bedroom and up, we're going to give you $10,000 credit on closing. That's something very exclusive. It's not in any of our print material, and that's just for being here today. We have a great deposit structure. We've extended it. It's only 5% per year. So it's 5% in 2023, 5% in 2024, and then 5% in 2025. Very easy, very simple, 5% per year deposit. And if you think about the rate in which real estate has been increasing in the last couple of years, it's ranging anywhere from on average 6 to 9% a year appreciation. So you basically make back more than your deposit every year. So it doesn't cost you anything to get into pre-construction. Anything I'm missing? We've got everything, right? Yeah, so again, it's perfect timing. I think the food's here. So really, you don't often find a project that checks all the boxes, and this is one of those that checks every single box you can think of, from location, developer reputation, to the floor plan, to the pricing and incentives. It's all right here. All right, so yeah, let us know if you have any questions. The team's here, happy to help you out. We're gonna get you guys some price lists, some floor plans. If you wanna take a look at the touch screens, the team can take you through, look at different plans and some of the views, some of the amenities, talked about the gym and the yoga studio. You can take a look at all that. And my team's around here as well if you guys have any questions. Cool, thanks.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you.